Alrighty, test.
Test.
Peter Pan pickles his peppers. Puck penis.
You don't actually say
That's
it.
how
though,
I'll
do
start
you?
the show. Puck penis.
But you don't actually say it, do you?
No,
No.
we decided it's because of the color.
Before you go any further, how much of this am I putting in the show?
None.
The whole
Okay.
thing.
Because I feel like once we say it, I'm gonna want to put in the show.
What,
We
it's a horse
decided,
dick?
basically, no. So I looked up goat penis on Google Images, and it looks like a dog. It basically looks like a
This
dog's
has
penis.
to go on the show now.
No, it basically looks like a dog's penis, but I imagine
God.
that because of certain other traits at work,
But
it's probably
he's-
a lot larger than a dog's penis.
Oh god. Now, actually, no. Maybe I won't put this in the show.
This is black.
Now I definitely won't put it in it. Thank you, Callum. That was the deciding vote. Test. See, when I get really loud, it doesn't go all the way to the top. And I'm like, that's good because I don't want it to. And then when we laugh, it goes all the way to the top. Maybe it's because all
I think
three
it's-
of us are laughing at the same
Could also
time.
How about we
Frequency.
also? How about
Could
we
be
also
frequency.
shout Puck's penis at the same time? See what happens.
All right, 3, 2, 1, puck.
Yeah.
We'll say 3, 2, 1, puck because
Okay,
it's easier.
All right.
All right, 3, 2, 1,
Puck.
No, it's good. Didn't go all the way.
Okay.
Okay, good. Now, how do we start the show?
Just leave it all in.
Yeah?
Nah.
Yeah.
Some of it's gold, some of it's just offensive. We'll see. I'll cut around it. But yeah, if there's one bit I can't use, it's hard to cut around it.
Just leave
And
it
then
all
look,
in.
No.
more-
I'll be honest. The only reason I brought it up was because there is a sex scene in which a Puck has sex with someone,
Yeah.
and I was like, "What does that look like in a realistic scenario?"
Logistically, how does that
Yeah,
work?
no, that's like I'm watching it happen. I'm like,
Well, now that we're full into discussion, we have to put it in.
Yeah, we have to put it in. But first, welcome to the Tuesday review. I'm Nathan,
I'm James.
and I'm Callum.
and we're talking about Puck Dick.
And apologies to our listeners. I feel like similar to The Boys, another Amazon show, we might have to do another content warning.
Only for the start.
Yeah, I think
It's going to be a pretty
the
clean
rest-
show. Just,
yeah.
there are questions that needed to be raised.
I feel like we'll keep the C-bombs to a minimum.
I don't think it's justified in this
no,
episode.
in this review, we it's not justified. Although I think they drop it a couple of times in Carnival Row
it's,
because
yeah.
it's accurate to their Cockney
Yeah.
persuasion. Cockney persuasion. What the fuck does that mean?
Oh,
They're
I'll allow it.
They're hard
Is
men.
that a good?
Salt of the earth?
Yeah.
Salty men.
Salty
burly
salty
men.
sea dogs.
Yeah, so Carnival Row is a new show on Amazon Prime that is, I guess, it's described as like a neo-noir fantasy thriller.
Yeah, dark fantasy, turn of the century, steampunk-ish. Not really.
Yeah.
Diesel punk.
Yeah, that
Is that the right era?
No, it's not. I don't say it's not quite up to Diesel. I mean, I guess it.
Yeah, it's like
It's
a
just
bit-
it's slightly pre-electric.
yeah. It's sort of turn of the century England, but not because they have telegraph machines, but they don't have phones.
And there is one light bulb.
There's one light bulb scene. There's like electricity's not really a thing.
Yeah.
Steam engines are a thing, but not diesel engines. At least that we've seen.
yeah.
It's not too important to the overall story.
Yeah, but I just like the era.
Yeah.
So it's like set in that
It's
kind
a
of
little
world.
bit of a mix.
Yeah,
it's
but
just post-industrial.
yeah, but it's also in a world where fairies, minotaurs.
Satyrs.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah, well, in traditional.
Okay.
Nerd law.
No, that's probably the correct name because what they do in this series is they give them
Nicknames, basically.
different names. Like
Yeah.
fairies are called
Picks.
pigs.
Mm. The satyrs are called pucks, which I'm
No,
wondering...
no. I'm talking about minotaurs.
Oh, are they
The
actual?
horse. There's actual horsemen.
Oh, you mean a minotaur is half bull, half man.
No.
A centaur is half.
A centaur. Sorry, a
Yeah.
centaur. Yeah. So there's
Get your nerd law right, James.
I
Jeez,
bound,
you're embarrassing me.
I bow down to
You're
your
embarrassing me.
superior knowledge.
Minotaur.
All hail, King Nerd.
Yeah.
Come. Yeah. So it's set in that kind of
Yeah.
just post-industrial turn of the century England, which is called the Burg. But in this world, fairies, centaurs, fauns.
I'm sure there's a Minotaur somewhere.
Probably, yeah. Those creatures exist, but as we were saying, they're given their own in-world names. Fairies are pigs.
And Puck is legitimate.
puck is the correct name for a fawn?
It is a type of English folklore. Depending on who you ask.
So
it's
are
either
fawns and pucks the same thing?
essentially, I mean, look
Yeah,
at the
it looks
photo.
like
they're
it's
basically the same thing.
Yeah,
but
it's guys with
it's like an English folklore version.
Yeah, it's like a man with goat horns and goat
And,
legs.
yeah. It's depending on who you ask. It's either a sprite, demon, or fairy.
Yeah, well, and that's also something we should explain is this show takes a lot of inspiration from like
Traditional folklore.
yeah, Celtic and like, Old English folklore.
Yeah.
And so the terminology they use comes from that.
Yeah.
So like instead of calling them fawns, they're called pucks, and the all the magical creatures collectively are called the Fae.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
which is probably
Which is more accurate to
an older,
the old English term. It's a really interesting setting.
Yeah,
It's
I
very
think
interesting.
I really
setting.
like
the setting
it.
is strong.
Yeah.
very gloomy.
It's Amazon, so big budget, good production design.
I just wish there was some more sunshine in the show. To be honest with you,
But it's England.
I know it's England.
Well, it's the
I know
bird.
it's meant to be London,
Yeah.
and I get that. There's so many nighttime scenes.
It's a very dark.
Well,
show.
I mean, but it's also a show about the underworld and the criminal elements and stuff like that. It's like, and it's also a show about people who can't really be seen doing certain things, during the day, and so it
I
makes
guess.
sense.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, like visually, it's amazing. I think I really like the production design, and the costume design.
very good practical.
Yeah,
practical
lots of
elements.
practical effects as well, which I'm glad that these big premium, cable and streaming service shows are taking,
Willing to spend the money on it.
willing to spend the money, but also like taking a leaf out of, Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones book by saying like, we're going to use mostly practical. And then because we have lots of, creatures and stuff, yes, there'll be a lot of CGI, but usually it's only when they sort of really have
Yeah.
to.
When you look at the puck creatures, for example,
Yeah.
it's probably easy. I'm assuming they were wearing some type of headdress.
Yeah, they're wearing, prosthetic horns.
Yeah.
And then they're actually wearing, like, it looks like a...
Hooves.
it looks like stilts made to look like hooves. The only time they use CGI for the puck legs is when he, Agreus,
Agreus, yes.
Yeah.
takes his pants off.
Yeah.
Because then he's like full, like...
Yeah.
I think they use CGI there. But yeah,
No, but
that's my point,
I
is
think
they
it's-
only use it when they sort of have
They
to.
didn't just use
It
a
might
really
be
hairy
more-
man.
What hairy man with goat legs do you know?
We might it might be a little more expensive initially to like create all of these.
Yeah.
For each individual puck on screen, you'd have to make a headdress or whatever. But I think that it's also easier in the long run. Like you don't have to worry about the CG in
you don't have
post
to.
and
Yeah,
it looking,
you don't have to
looking bad.
No, exactly. But I mean, that's an easy, quote unquote, not easy, but an easy thing. Get all the
Yeah.
extras to wear not styrofoam, like
Oh, yeah,
fiberglass horns.
yeah.
That's one. But like when it comes to like showing the city and the fairies flying over the city, I think they did a pretty decent job of like
Yeah.
compositing, digital compositing, and not just being like everything's CGI.
Yeah.
Some of it looks a bit wibbly wobbly,
Yeah, but it's
which
yeah,
is
it's TV for you.
yeah. But I mean, that's even the big budget movies we talk about always have a few
No,
wobbly
Captain
bits.
Marvel.
Oh, that was much
Woody
more
from Toy
than that was
Story.
much more than wobbly bits. That was a farce. But yeah, like this is. It's kind of, we talk about how, premium cable and streaming shows, they've surpassed movies in terms of storytelling. And with Game of Thrones and, The Boys and
They're surpassing
Carnival
movies
Row,
in
they're
production
starting,
design.
exactly, yeah, they're starting to get equally, if not better, than to big budget movies
I
in
think
terms
it's-
of, special effects.
It's probably
and-
also because they have to compete more.
that's
like-
the thing.
Like, because there's so many high quality shows,
Yeah.
if you want your show to stand out, well, you
Yeah.
better put the money in
That's
there.
what we keep talking about. We keep talking about how Netflix, Amazon, HBO, they're all competing, so they have to keep putting so
Well,
much money in.
And especially the practical element. I started watching the Dark Crystal show today.
Yeah.
Puppets everywhere. Puppets, practical.
But it's like, if they did a Dark Crystal show without puppets, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the fact is, it's like, but the fact is that they're doing practical on
Yeah.
the show. They could have got away
I
with
think-
a fair bit
yeah.
of CG, but
We again, we repeat ourselves, but we always complain about movies, use too much CGI crap.
Yeah.
They need to rein things in. They need to focus more on practical. Generally, there seems to be from fans, like movie fans like us, there seems to be a backlash saying, no, we want practical. We want practical. And these TV networks and streaming services seem to be
Paying attention.
at least in their really good shows, seem to be paying attention. But overall, the industry as a whole, I think, doesn't give a shit.
No.
And we
No,
talked
that's
about how at the end of the day, big Marvel movies and, big sci-fi action movies, they're just CGI.
Yeah.
They don't care. And generally, like again, we repeat ourselves, generally audiences who go see the movies, they don't care.
Yep.
They're just like, oh yeah, flashy lights.
Yeah, I know it's Star Wars because it had lasers in it.
Exactly. That's exactly. So it's good that these shows, to tie it back to Carnival Row, because we've gone on a tangent, which is what we do here. It's good that shows like Carnival Row not only have good storytelling, but they look really good and they use lots of practical elements.
This is gonna sound bad, but it just feels more real.
Oh, definitely.
Like when they
Tangible.
when they
It's
spend money
tangible.
on sets,
Yeah.
it's like that's a real place.
Yeah.
Orlando Bloom is in that cell.
Yeah.
You know what I
Orlando
mean?
Bloom looks so real in this show.
Yeah, I know.
You can almost feel it. You
know what I mean? Like that's what it's about. That's what the movie that's where movie magic comes from.
Yeah.
It's about that's not just some fictional place.
Yeah.
It's happening.
It's not just a green screen. It's
Yeah,
not just it's a actual physical place you could visit.
Yeah, you look at Indiana
Like you can
Jones.
step in. Yeah, like I always say, you can step into the screen
Yeah.
and experience that world.
You look at
Where-
Indiana Jones. No one likes Indiana Jones because of the CG, right? It's places, it's stuntmen doing things.
Yeah.
It's all real.
Yeah, we talk about this. It's always the practical elements, the physical weight, the weight. We
Yeah.
always, that's the word we always
yeah.
come back to, the weight of things. But anyway, should we talk? We should, I guess, say we'll do a quick non-spoiler. I think we've already spoiled some things, but nothing major.
Nothing major yet.
Yeah, but basically, if you like dark adult fantasy shows, if you like Game of Thrones,
It's also a somewhat good detective story.
Yeah.
it's a decent enough,
I mean, it has
mystery.
its flaws,
yeah,
but there's
murder
a mystery there that you can
Yeah.
sort of think about a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a old Victorian. Is that the era?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an old Victorian murder mystery, but
Yeah.
with fantastical creatures.
Yeah.
But it's got the dark, violent, sort of mature.
There are nipples if you want to see
mature-
nipples.
Yeah, it's got the mature content that streaming service shows are known for,
Can I just say one thing that I feel like
and we love.
is very condescending to Carnival Row and other streaming shows is whenever you look them up, it always says web series. And I understand
because
why.
technically it is. Yeah,
I'm like, but I feel like that's also a very condescending
yeah.
term to use when you have such great, and I say great television.
Yeah.
Right? I'm like, like Stranger Things, amazing television, considered a web series.
Yeah.
Like, just no. Like,
I mean,
just, it's
technically it is, but I consider them TV shows.
like, come on,
yeah.
man. Like,
Yeah.
Well, they're better than TV
and,
shows.
and they're better than most. Yeah,
Anyway, yeah, I liked it,
yeah.
but for me, I feel like
Should we do a quick non-spoiler synopsis?
that's okay. So
Like-
it takes place in Victorian England.
Well, the Berg,
Yeah, the Berg.
yeah, which is like post-industrial sort of turn of the century society. There was a war between the Berg and
Kingdom of Anoon.
No, between the Pact.
who are a very vague foreign human enemy.
I'm hoping we'll see
which
more
I
of them
hope
in
they
the
explore
second
more.
season.
Yeah. So let's just pretend they're the Germany of World War One,
Okay, yeah.
and the Berg is the England of World War One. So there was a big war, and the Fae, the magical creatures, their homelands were invaded by the Pact, and the Berg sent soldiers to help them, but were forced to surrender and return home. And all the displaced Fae
Settled in the Berg.
were now forced to become refugees from their homeland, which is taken over by the Pact, and has settled in the Berg, and are concentrated around Carnival Row, which is like this ghetto sort of poor Skid Row kind of thing. And that's where the action of the show takes place. And we follow a police detective, played by Orlando Bloom, Rycroft Philostrate,
Yes.
Yep.
who goes by the name Philo.
Thank God he does.
As you would.
There's a lot of very high fantasy
Names.
like fancy schmancy names. he was a soldier who's now a police detective, and he fell in love with a fairy,
Vignette Stonemoss.
Vignette Stonemoss, who is forced to become a refugee and travels to Carnival Row, the burg, and finds out he's there, and this brings up a lot of tension and past, trauma and so on.
Meanwhile, Philo is investigating a series of murders.
Yes.
And that basically is the overall synopsis.
Which might be tied to sort of a dark magic, and of course there's all this political stuff going on, and all this the sort of main theme of the show, which we talked about when we saw the trailer, was the whole immigration, refugee, racial thing going on with the Fae being...
It's kind of deeper than racial too, because the Fae come in all skin colors. So
it's
an allegory for racism.
We'll circle back to that later, but it's definitely an allegory for the refugee crisis happening around the world, and immigration, and racism,
and also with nice shades of like World War II era sort of towards the end of the show.
Yeah, there's always
othering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which it's. But you could the Fae could be any.
It's like the X-Men. They represent so many different things.
It's just the other. Yeah. There's no. Yeah, they don't represent one specific.
But we're going to see ghettos in season 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Because that's interesting to see where they're going to go with that. But basically, I enjoyed the show. It's good, not great.
Yep.
I'd say, if you like Game of Thrones and dark fantasy shows, watch it. But when I'm watching most TV shows and the first episode's not bad, but then the second episode gets really good, or the third, it's like, this is a show, I think, where it doesn't get really good until the fourth episode. The first 3 episodes are good, but I wasn't until 4 where I was like, everything fell into place. And I was like, okay, they've gotten the all the backstory kind of out of the way, and they've gotten all they're setting up all the pieces, and then 4, 5, 6, I was like, okay, I'm in now. So
I agree with you.
If you have trouble with the first couple episodes, keep going.
I agree with you.
Unless you really hate it, then, stop. But
yeah. But I thoroughly enjoyed the 3rd episode.
We'll talk about that later with spoilers, just because I have some issues.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the fantasy elements. I enjoyed the practical sets. I was a little turned off by it felt to me like forced romance elements into the show.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have been much better if it was more adventure instead of like the kind of romance elements, which I understand you want to hit all the bases with your demographics.
Yeah.
It definitely appeals to some people. Like you said earlier, it's a bit Twilighty at times.
It feels like it's not a problem with the show. It just, I think the first 3 episodes are where it's like, here we have to get sort of the lovey-dovey, the kind of Twilighty stuff, and then the show gets more interesting after that, because you introduce more characters, you introduce more of the political situation.
There were a couple of pointless subplots. Like there's some
fat on the show, in my opinion, that they could have. But that's every show though. That's every show though.
I'm gonna have to look up the characters' names because.
All right, let's move into spoilers, because we're beating around the bush, and the non-spoiler section is the worst part of the show. So, full spoiler warning: if you haven't seen Carnival Row, the new Amazon fantasy series, we're doing full spoiler discussion. So, major spoiler warning for Carnival Row.
The plotline I had an issue with, and I didn't hate the plotline, I just didn't see why it was there.
Yeah.
Was the sort of Spurnrose Agreus plotline.
Really? That was one of my favourite parts of the show.
I liked it, but I feel like it was unnecessary to the main plot. It didn't really connect in a meaningful way, other than the fact that, he owned the boat that
I would argue,
Vignette came on.
So I'm going to sort of pull that back a bit and say the main characters, quote-unquote main characters, are Philo and Vignette.
Yeah.
And, and the posters and the ads, it's about their love story. And, they're kind of walking and they come together on at the end of the trailer, Like, that's what the show is presenting it as, this kind of forbidden love between the man and the fairy, That happens in the show, but it's not the biggest part of the show. I'd say those scenes of Vignette and Philo are the weakest parts of the show.
Oh, yeah.
A few weeks ago when we talked about The Boys, I talked about how in almost every movie and TV show, not just fantasy, but every genre, every medium, the main character is usually the most boring. Because he's kind of usually he's the kind of white bread, normal guy that everything happens to around him. And the smaller characters, they're the more interesting ones. They're the darker ones. They're the more twisted. They have the more interesting story. And I think Carnival Row, this is an illustration of that, where Philo and Vignette are the most boring characters. I found Imogen and Agreus to be much more interesting.
They were.
And then all the little characters surrounding them are much more interesting. And then I found the what was the son of the Chancellor? Jonah. So in the first 3 episodes, maybe we should go back and talk about the first 3 episodes. First 3 episodes, he's kidnapped. So you don't get anything from his character. He's just the son. Like, he's a plot device. Then, once he's released, then he becomes a character. And then all the characters surrounding him and his father and his mother, that becomes more interesting. So, like, even though the Vignette and Philo are the main centerpiece of the show that, go throughout it, for me, they're kind of the whatever part of the show. The love story is just kind of whatever. And it can get a bit melodramatic, which is fine.
The side characters are the most interesting.
Yeah.
I just had a problem with this specific plot line, just from a technical perspective of, well, how does it relate back to the main story?
Well, I think it relates back to the theme of the show, which at the end...
Forbidden love, woo!
No, is the whole immigration, refugee situation. Because at the end, Imogen and Agreus escape, but everyone else is forced into Carnival Row.
Mm.
So it's kind of like his wealth and privilege let him escape, even though he's Fae.
Technically he escaped before the
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were calling him back in.
and he's just like, nah.
Yeah, and also even if that scene wasn't there where they were calling him back in, it's still his wealth allowed him to escape any. I mean, he's obviously going to get persecuted and chased around the world by the brother, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And that introduces interesting questions for following seasons, and that's why I'm more interested in his story than I am in bloody Philo and Vignette's story. But that actually brings up another good point: is at the end they're setting up what they want the show to be, which is the whole ghetto kind of forcing all the Fae into Carnival Row and fencing them off. And then it's going to be about that political situation. Whereas the first season's sort of getting to that situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's working up to that.
Mm.
So, and also another reason why I think the Agreus storyline is a good thing for the show is because if he does escape, we'll get to see more of the world.
Yeah.
That's
Because
a good thing.
one of the I guess minor problems is that you don't really get a good sense of what this world is.
And you do in one episode, in the third episode, you get to see something different, but it's not. It's like I want to see more of.
Yeah,
that.
it
was
doesn't.
cool.
It doesn't really illustrate what the rest of the world is like, and because, like, for instance, the Chancellor's wife, she's from a nation or a continent.
Sand people, basically.
Yeah,
It's referred
like a
to-
desert. Yeah, like a desert area.
Desert
where people have darker skin, and there are Asian people in the show. There are black people in the show. So there are continents or places that exist where these people are from and have immigrated to, and they mention in the show, which is interesting because usually they just don't mention it. They mention that racism against these people did exist, and then they overcame that. But then it wasn't until the Fae started, the refugee crisis.
They found
started.
a common enemy.
Exactly, yeah. So
it's like we can get over our differences in skin color because those people have horns.
yeah, exactly. It's that, which is
At least these
interesting.
people are human.
Yeah,
Which
at least you're a human.
Yeah, which is interesting because I thought they were just going to be like, well, I mean, they did kind of solve racism just to introduce new racism kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, for the show is fine. Like, we get what they're doing. But I would like to see more of these nations across the world. Who are the Pact? Where are they from? What are they doing? Yeah, in the third episode, we do get to see the flashback to the war. But
Which
it's
is
only...
probably one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, but it's only that one...
That one episode.
It's that one episode. It's that one place. Like, it's just Ireland or Scotland kind of looking place. Like, it's just...
I liked all the snow.
Yeah, it's a good episode. It looks nice, but like I want to see more explored. So
I like
Agreus' storyline will allow that.
I like the sort of scouting.
Hopefully.
I like the sort of scouting parties they have up on the mountains.
Yeah.
They were cool.
I think
And I want to see more werewolves.
yeah, that was cool.
That's something we didn't see
Yeah,
enough of.
his is it Darius? His friend.
Yes.
Like yeah, I would like to see that be further. Oh yeah, actually now I think if they're putting everyone in he's already in prison, so I guess they won't put him in Carnival Row, but
They might.
that would be interesting.
They might just be like, oh, just keep them all together.
Yeah, they'll just be like just throw them in. But yeah, like I think there's a thing in movies and TV shows where you sort of if there's a big event in the past of a character, because it's just logistically how they film things. They film like one big scene there, and then every time there's a flashback, it just flashbacks to that one scene and location.
Yeah.
So one of the problems I have with episode 3 is that even though Philo was assumedly in the war for more than like quite a long time, maybe a few years, I don't know how long the war went for.
Well, he refers to him getting like, battle wounds and all that kind of stuff. And it's like,
so he was there, he was a soldier for a while, and we don't know how long the war went for, but it went for a while. But we only see that sort of one bit. And that's where everything happens. That's where Darius gets turned into a werewolf. That's where he meets Vignette.
yeah.
It's kind of that. And again, it's understandable.
and
Like
they
the crossroads of destiny.
Yeah, exactly.
And they have a
Logistically,
and they have a cheesy bonding over his favorite book.
yeah, I like that scene. I like how there's science fiction in this fantasy universe. Yeah. But like, it's a thing. And then it's like in season 2, if they have to show another flashback that explains something, they'll just shoot another scene.
It's just all very. It's very convenient.
Yeah. So again, I know logistically that's like you have to shoot it that way, but I think it would be interesting if they kind of planned it out. I guess this doesn't just go for Carnival Row, but like all shows and movies. It'd be cool if they planned it out where they're like, there's going to be this many flashbacks to inform this many scenes. And every time we flash back, it's going to feel like it's a different part of the war. It's going to feel like it's a different, and you're going to
like front.
Yeah, you're going to build up his character over time. But again, logistically, it's just too hard.
Yeah, they would write the show with that in mind. They write the show with, well, let's just have all the flashbacks in the one location.
Yeah, but that's why, like, third episode's fine, but I think the fourth episode is where it really gets good, because the fourth episode is where you've already learned everything about the backstory. Jonah gets let out. He becomes a legit character. His father becomes a legit character, and everything starts falling into place. And everyone starts interacting with each other. So it's like that's when it starts to get going, and that's when the Dark Asher storyline starts to become the main focus of the show. Because the first 3 episodes is just kind of setting things up. And you're like, well, there's a monster attacking people.
That was the only bit of kind of dodgy CG that I thought was there was the specific scene where you see its arm or something, or its head.
Tentacle.
Yeah, the tentacle.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
it's TV. I forgot.
But even like we said, even movies don't do that good a job. I can guarantee you, even a big budget movie would probably have the same.
It was a little nod to Cthulhu.
Oh, definitely Cthulhu.
I
vibes.
loved it. I was like, yeah, give me the tentacles.
Yeah, Zoidberg.
Yeah, Zoidberg.
That's it. Like, I mean, I guess maybe they were going for a Cthulhu thing, but I feel like the tentacles were a bit much.
Well, look, when you think of dark forces, what do you think of? I'm like,
well, yeah.
What's
like unknowable cosmic horror.
Old gods.
Yeah.
It's obviously.
But like, I feel like because he's a Franken monster, made from dead and like other fantasy.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I mean, I know they shared the dead bodies at the end, but what was the tentacle part? Was that just an octopus, or is there a creature? Is there a fairy creature with tentacles?
I always assumed that you put stuff together and that's what it looks like. Like
So
what I
it's
mean?
just like
magical transformation kind of dealio.
Oh,
I don't know.
No, like.
Yeah, but like they combine different creatures.
So like, did what's her name just like fish a octopus out of the bay and
That
like
would've been funny.
stuck it on his head?
But
like, I felt like he should have had a different.
Yeah.
I mean, a slight different design.
I mean,
I'm
hopefully
not sure
we can see some more interesting configurations in the next season if they do have Dark Ashes in the next season.
I don't want them to repeat themselves.
Yeah,
but also,
I don't know if they should.
In episode 1,
If they do, they should.
Like a lion one.
Maybe they should.
Or a griffin.
Like, maybe they should introduce the... I mean, I don't want them to repeat themselves, but if they do, maybe they can introduce the idea of, like, a Dark Asher army
Yeah,
That'd
that'd
be cool.
That's a bit much, though.
Also, yeah, don't want to get too close to Game of Thrones.
Yeah, then it'd be just
Um,
be too much CGI stuff.
The only problem I
Yeah.
had with the sort of the bad guy at the end being, well, we'll say the bad creature being the Dark Asher,
Yeah.
was that in the first episode they're like, oh, there is an old god, he awakes, and even though I think that might be related to a Puck storyline that
Yeah.
doesn't get fully fleshed out,
Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see
Like-
where that goes as well.
that doesn't get fully fleshed out in this season.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
And like, are we meant to believe that the Dark Force that they're all referring to is just this creature?
I did not.
No.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's a season 2 plot point.
Yeah, I feel like there's something bigger.
Yeah,
More
so
nefarious,
that's,
yeah.
You reckon there's something bigger coming, and
Yeah.
it wasn't just like, oh, the Dark Asher is this giant
No.
evil
We'll have to wait
force.
for season 2's
that's
trailer.
that's another thing. Like the first 3 episodes, I was like, really, the big bad guy is just a monster in the sewers.
Yeah.
But then you find out it's being controlled. It was made and it's being controlled, and there's dark magic. Yeah, and I feel like the god and the ancient religion that the Pucks.
You reckon that's more towards?
Yeah, I feel like there is a dark force, perhaps. But see, I also
and
don't.
that dark force is called socialism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't want it to be like Stranger Things
Yeah.
thing where it's like, and there's the Mind Flayer who's
A
like the
giant
Asher
CG
who's
blob
really
monster,
big.
yeah.
Yeah. Like if there is a dark force, I hope it's much more interesting or unique.
I hope it's like
Yeah.
a person, you know? Like, I don't want the... Like, we
Yeah.
talked about this on the Stranger Things review,
Yeah.
where it's like, why does the big nemesis always have to be a giant CG creature?
Yeah.
Like, I hope the Dark God maybe
like a-
possesses someone, and
Maybe,
that person
yeah.
walks around. you
But
know.
like, yeah, but then the just the act of possession, people will be like, but what is his true form?
It's unknowable.
See, I would be happy with that.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to... You can just like, look, he's a Dark God. What do you want? He looks like
Yeah.
whatever he wants to
Pull,
look like.
pull
yeah.
a Pulp Fiction and just like have him reveal himself
See,
to people, not on
that's-
screen,
yeah.
and they go crazy
That's-
and they go
yeah,
insane.
I like that a lot.
That's why there's not many adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft, or if there is, there's not many really good ones. Is because his whole thing is undescribable, unknowable
Yeah, how do
horror.
you visualize
So
that
how
on
do you
screen?
visualize that? So yeah, it would be cool if like
yeah.
they see the
You don't.
dark
The
force,
audience
but
doesn't
yeah.
see it, but the
But
so,
see,
yeah.
I don't. They never do that. I don't think, especially on this kind of show. I feel like that.
I'd love that, though.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
because that's the way to get past it. Like it's the unknowable
Yeah.
like horror.
Yeah,
and
you just
then-
see people's reaction.
Yeah, but then it goes back inside the person. Or
Realistically,
whatever,
it's probably going to be something lame.
oh yeah, it's going to be
it'll-
like a it's
it'll
going to be like a
Stranger
dog or
Things-
something.
Yeah, it'll be a Stranger Things Mind Flayer kind of thing, where it's just like a big
Star Trek,
You know.
60s Star Trek era. It's going to be a dog with a horn.
No, see, I would like that.
Yeah.
Because it'd be like that's like a weird
Yeah.
kind of thing. But yeah, you don't want it to be another CGI blob. But that's why, like, I think the Dark Ash storyline I think plays out really well. You know, and I like the twists and the reveals of who's behind it and whatever. But like Game of Thrones, it's like the politics are actually kind of the most interesting.
I agree.
And I like where the show ends up, where Jonah becomes Chancellor.
I like the Parliament sort of politics stuff
Yeah.
as well. That was cool, and the social politics we'll call it
Yeah.
between the houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and that's another reason why I like the Imogen Agrea storyline, because, you know, it ties into all of that stuff. But yeah, I like where the show's going, where they can explore that more. And, you know, like Jonah being the one in power, but also knowing the truth about, like, where he's from, like, where he came from, and Philo also knowing who his real father is. So, I mean,
Do we assume that Philo is destined for greatness?
so yeah, I feel like
It's never 100%. Like the mother says, Jonah's mum says that the
opposition,
the opposition,
yeah.
I forget her surname, is his sister, but she's also not 100%, and she can't take the risk. So it's
I
never
feel like-
technically. It's
Yeah.
assumed. We assume
But
that
yeah,
they're
I
siblings.
feel like
But it's not 100% stated explicitly that they are in the show. It's just a good chance.
I think
No, I'm talking about Philo.
I think
Like,
that
is
I
he-
was talking
is
about
he-
Jonah
You know how
and-
one
Yeah,
of the
no, no,
sons
no.
was
Yeah,
prophesied
yeah.
for
No,
greatness?
yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
I'm assuming
Yeah.
Orlando Bloom is destined for
Philo
greatness.
is
I
the
feel
Chancellor's
as
son.
per his contract.
Follows the Chancellor's son. Jonah
Might not be.
is most likely the
Opposition son.
former opposition leader's son from the affair. But that's what I'm interested in, what the second season does, because that introduces
Yeah.
interesting questions
wouldn't-
of if Philo is half Fae, half human, half, you know, Chancellor's
Yeah.
son, you know, like then he could, you know, rise up, quote unquote, and unite both the Fae and the human people.
It wouldn't be good fantasy without a prophecy.
Exactly. Like we're getting into like very heavy Game of Thrones territory, where it's like unite the houses and defeat the dark evil and
the chosen ones.
Yeah, the chosen. Like it gets very. But that's the interesting stuff. That's the juicy stuff. Like, yeah, I'm interested to see like where they go, like with the political situations and the social situations.
Nowhere good.
Yeah, no, of course not. But
we're going to see some World War II allegories come into it, I reckon. Some camps.
Yeah. Well, we're already there at the end of the show. Like,
there's going to be some camps. There's going to be some nasty rhetoric about.
Well, yeah, we already had that in the show. Just now it's going to be
build a wall.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's unfortunately like we say a lot on the show. Unfortunately, some of these kind of
parallels.
Yeah, the sort of allegories to real current situations. It's just really sad, kind of, but I guess
less fairies in real life, though.
Yeah, unfortunately. I like the fairy. Like I like the world building. I feel like the world building actually
because I love the wings.
Yeah,
like I know that when they were flying it's CG.
Yeah,
but when they have the prosthetic wings on the back, I was like. That's cool. It's very typical, actually, like old school fantasy. I like the way they looked.
Yeah, I like the wire work.
They looked leathery.
Yeah, I like the wire rubbery work where when they fly, like it's actually them getting lifted off the ground, and then they just CGI the wings.
Yeah,
I feel like most movies and TV shows would just have a CGI version of the
Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
which worked. Like it worked really well on the show.
Oh yeah, it looked really good.
It gives you a sense of
especially because
practical.
Yeah, especially because they didn't skimp out on it. Like if there was a character, if there was a fairy on the first floor and they needed to get to the second floor, to save money, they didn't just have the fairy run up the stairs. Like they always flew. Like there was never a point where you're kind of like, hang on, they could just fly.
Yeah.
Like I always felt like, oh, there's a height difference. They're flying. I never felt like they cheaped out on it.
And that sense of world building for a show that's not based on an existing source material is frankly really impressive.
It feels like it's based on a novel or a book series or even a comic book, but it's not. It's wholly original.
It's an original creation. It's based on a film. It's based on a script. Yeah.
But still, how lucky are we to have something wholly original? We talk about all the time on the show about how it's just constant remakes.
Yeah.
This is a wholly original property.
Yeah. But it's also good because it does the world building that we love so much that feels like it's from a good book or a comic,
Yeah, and hopefully that world building will be used spectacularly in season 2.
And it's the same writer. I'm pretty sure it's the same writer for each episode, right? Like,
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I think it was different. I think it doesn't. It's not a true detective kind of situation. Like it's still a traditional TV thing where it's like different writers.
But Orlando Bloom executive produced it, and him and the other producers and sort of showrunners have plans for, at the moment, up to 4 seasons.
That's good.
So they've got a direction in mind.
They've got plans, yeah.
See, Amazon, I'm hopeful that they'll actually
honor that.
If this was Netflix, I'd be like 2 seasons and they're done.
yeah. Maybe 3 if they do really well.
Yeah. So like it's good that
it's not a cheap show.
Because exactly, and like we talked about with The Boys, it's like Amazon is still sort of starting up their
trying to get their roster set.
Yeah, and they have their shows already, but nothing that's really big. The Boys and Carnival Row are probably their 2 biggest shows maybe now.
Yeah, right now,
because they're advertising them on TV a lot. People are talking about them, but like I said the other day, like people aren't talking about their other shows.
Yeah.
So. But their other shows seem to, like, they're up to season 3, season 4, like, whereas Netflix is like, season 2, season 3, cancelled.
Yeah.
They don't care, which is concerning. And we could do a whole episode just on that. Look, I
think that's probably because Netflix spends so much money on hundreds of different properties.
It's like...
I think Amazon is not up to that point yet. Yeah. I think maybe
slightly more selective.
Like maybe 10 years down the line for Amazon... Maybe we'll be having the same conversation.
Yeah, I'm hoping like we always love to talk about Netflix, how much we love it, but there is a downside of
my love is waning lately.
Yeah,
keep cancelling the shows Netflix.
Exactly.
I'm not going to unsubscribe, but I'll whinge about it on the show.
It's kind of to the point where it's like, what's the point of making these great
if you're just
different shows, like
if
these
you're
kind of unique shows.
if they have a limited shelf life.
If you're just going to be like, we've subscribed as many people as we can subscribe with that new show, just get rid of it. And we'll see what else we can make. And we'll keep churning out a whole bunch of movies and see how many subscribers we can get. I'm hoping that Amazon takes a different approach.
Yeah.
That's more like...
You tell the whole story.
Yeah, it's like we're going to actually select good stuff.
Like, I would say the thing to remedy that would be to say, don't approach us with a show that's open-ended. We want to know how long will it take for you to tell your story.
That's what I think Netflix... I guess Netflix is all about the subscriber, getting
the growth,
subscriber. But like that's what they should do. They should be like, look, we're willing to give you 2 or 3 seasons and that's it.
Yeah,
and if
but
you
we
don't
can't
want
promise you 10, for example.
But then they also probably don't want to scare off creators. They want to keep getting... So they're going to lie. They're going to lie to these creators and say like, oh yeah, we're really interested in your property, and then cancel.
I feel like if you can justify why your show needs 7 seasons...
Yeah.
Like, well, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, but if your show only needs 4... That's fine. It's like we talk about the thing where episodes don't have to go for an hour. One episode can go for half an hour if it needs to.
I think it could go the other way as well, though. If Netflix started straight up just saying, we'll give you 3 seasons, can you make it work? Then creators might be more willing to be like, yeah, I can make it work for this because they have certainty. Instead of signing up for a show and being like, well, we're gambling, we haven't been told no, but we don't know what the future's looking like.
Exactly.
So,
I think you end up with a better show that way because it's like, you know what you're doing, you know where you're going, you know what budget you have to work with.
to include.
Yeah. You just need more, we just need more certainty at the end of the day.
Well, we know that Carnival Row has been confirmed for 1 more season, correct?
It got confirmed for a 2nd season before it even aired.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Amazon was like, you got 2 at least.
Yeah. Well, they did that
at least we
with
get
the boys.
to see what happens in the ghetto.
In the ghetto. Yeah. I mean, hopefully Amazon... I mean, like with Wheel of Time, we talked about, like, hopefully they're like, we want to tell the whole story, start to finish...
That's a tough ask, considering they're giving $1 billion to Lord of the Rings. So,
but Lord of the Rings will make them bank. I guarantee.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, I hope it's not like they're just like, we'll see how it goes for a couple of seasons and then we'll cancel it.
Honestly, I think Carnival Row is a sure thing because I think that Orlando Bloom and the other people behind it can say... Because it's a pretty, they could do a Game of Thrones and expand it outward. But the integrals, the story about the ghetto, you could probably do, 4 seasons is probably fine to tell that whole story. But with Wheel of Time, I mean, that's 10 to 15 seasons worth.
We talked about on the show, I think, a while ago, where it's like 5 seasons is a good number.
Yeah.
If you get any more and you feel like you're stretching it out.
Yeah.
So if they can do 4 or 5 of Carnival Row and tell a good complete story, and it depends if they can show more of the world. If they're not going to do more of the world stuff, then they could probably bang it out in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not a writer on the show, but
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
I think having this show having such a really good production design and aesthetic does give us good signs for the Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's true. I didn't think because Carnival Row is a lot more limited in scope than Wheel of Time. So I'm hoping that because we were talking about when we talked about Wheel of Time last time, I was saying how I'm really hoping they do practical instead of just CGing everything.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's a good chance that we'll have quite a few practical sets in Wheel of Time.
Look, we have to take a short break, but we'll talk about that, how it feels like shows like The Witcher and Wheel of Time and hopefully Lord of the Rings, are following that
mold.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back in a sec.
All right, what are we talking about? We're talking about...
we're just talking about Wheel of Time.
We're talking about Amazon's production.
The hope for production value going forward.
And how, it seems that, I keep repeating myself, but it seems that because all these shows have to compete with each other, and they have to compete, with, the
other behemoths.
Yeah. So it's like
no one wants to be that kid with the shitty looking ball.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, yeah, well, I can do this too. You think you're special HBO?
Yeah, you either
Have you seen that episode of South Park? I'm not sure if it's I think it's an episode of South Park in the latest season. Or is it the game? I don't fucking
with
know.
the bikes.
With the bikes.
Yeah,
it's
that's
that
on
thing.
the show, yeah.
Yeah, it's that sort of thing where all the kids have a competition with the bikes and dressing up the bikes.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with TV.
Yeah, no one wants to be the one show
the worst dressed in the room.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna have to pump ridiculous amounts of money
But you also get probably a sweet return.
Yeah,
because
but-
people know the difference.
Yeah, but I think I also said on one episode, like, the bubble's going to burst probably. Like, it's
Oh,
going to
yeah,
it's going to
yeah.
get to a point where all these new streaming services that haven't even come out yet are going to come out, and they're all going to be spending millions and millions and billions in some cases on these shows.
It's the cable problem all over again.
Yeah, and it's just like it's going to be so much content, and it's going to get to a point where it's just like you can't subscribe to it all.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I'm just hoping that that the ones that are being made now, like Carnival Row, like we get to see an actual satisfying
I think
arc
we
and
will.
conclusion. You know,
Because what season is Jack Ryan up to? Because they've been
2 or 3. I think.
they've been advertising the new season of Jack Ryan.
Yeah, like see,
So
there's
I'm
Amazon shows that like people don't watch. Like
Yeah.
I don't watch, like, but
I'm assuming that their
like
support is pretty decent.
Man in the High Castle's up to season 4.
That's
That's
good.
coming out.
Yeah, and that's a small book too.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah,
That's
well,
got
no,
a big.
that-
That's
yeah.
also got a big budget.
Yeah. And you know, like Sneaky Pete's up to season 3, and I think they're doing a season 4. And I know there's a show called Goliath, which I don't watch, but I think that's season 3 or 4.
Bosch.
Bosch is up to season 6.
Yeah, that's a few in. I want to start
Yeah.
watching that. But
I watched the first season's good, but then I stopped.
Yeah,
But it's
so
a good
it
show.
seems
but
like they support their shows.
so that's what I'm saying is compared to Netflix, who's just like 2 or 3 and you're done.
Yeah, but see, Netflix used to support their shows.
Yeah.
Like you look at House of
But-
Cards.
Yeah, Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, like they used to support them.
Yeah. I feel like the only ones Netflix are going to support are the mega ones like
Stranger Things.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
other than that,
The
I don't think
BoJacks.
they. Yeah, other than that, I don't think they care.
I think so. What I think
Which is
Netflix,
concerning.
it seems like Amazon is choosing a show they want and supporting it for the whole duration.
Yeah,
At least that's what it looks like
I mean,
now.
I hope so.
most
Um,
people, the thing about Amazon Prime Video is that, especially in the States, most people have Amazon Prime primarily for the shopping conveniences and not necessarily for the video service.
Yeah.
So they're not in the same risk of losing subscribers in quotes.
That's true. I didn't think about
because
it that
it's
way.
an ancillary market to their Amazon
That's the thing.
Video service.
There might even be a lot of people who subscribe to it who don't actually use the video
Yeah.
service. They just want the free shipping.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Like-
Netflix, I mean,
That's
I
probably
suppose-
90%. That's probably 90% of it.
And it's pretty. It's compared to Netflix and even Disney Plus.
It's
like
cheap.
it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, that's true.
Even in Australia, we used to get
Yeah.
the Australia tax,
Which-
but it's only $59 a year. here.
Well, I heard that it's gone to 79, right? Or
Oh,
69?
I just last month I paid my yearly.
Yeah, but I
bill.
think they said
Yeah.
like there's a little note underneath that says it will go up. But even then, it's still cheaper than Netflix.
Look, I mean, we always say you got to support good content. So as long
Yeah.
as long as Amazon is making good shows,
Oh, yeah.
like I'm happy to pay. As long as
And-
Netflix keeps
yeah.
making good shows,
And it all comes back to Lord of the Rings. When that show comes out, like we'll pay whatever you want.
I know.
You know, Netflix. We'll stop our Netflix subscription.
Yeah.
if Amazon was like you can only watch this if you cancel Netflix, we'd be like hell yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
cancel it, watch Lord of the Rings, and then resub.
Yeah. You know?
Oh yeah. I mean,
That's gonna be crazy.
look, they're going to increase their price. Look, you can't spend $1 billion on one show and expect there to not be a financial blowback.
Oh,
it
yeah.
wouldn't surprise me if they're raising their price, but so they can kind of cushion some
Yeah.
of that blow.
Well, it's
Not necessarily just Lord of the Rings,
yeah,
but the
your
cost
Wheel
of
of Time
business.
and all the other shows, and and there's a cost. But also, like, I feel like when Lord of the Rings comes out, it's gonna restart up the merchandising and the like all the
man, I
like,
can't wait.
The Hobbit movies sucked, but when those movies were coming out, there was so much merchandise. I got a Thorin bookmark for Christ's sake, you know, like. When the new show comes out, it's going to reboot all that. Like, it's going to be like, everyone's going to get excited again, and they're going to release the toys.
Do you
and
think
all
they'll
this
drop
stuff.
their MMO in at the same time?
And I forgot about the MMO. So, yeah, you got the game, you got the series, and hopefully all the merchandise.
Touch wood for the MMO because video game development's a lot harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because things can
I
change.
know,
and
it'd
the
probably
game-
take a bit longer. Actually, no, now that I say merchandise, are there any... Because we talked about this once a long time ago, maybe on the old show, where like merchandise now isn't really
It's not
what it used to
toys,
be. It's not
yeah.
toys, it's like mobile games.
Yeah.
But it's like, I want toys.
I want toys.
Yeah, I saw.
I know. Don't worry. I feel it too. I want a little Bilbo, man.
Yeah, I got my little Aragon and my little
want a
ring
little-
wraith. I
A little
fried them.
Sam.
I saw. I was looking through Amazon the other day, and I saw a Chewbacca toy for like
Yeah.
$15. It was a 6-inch toy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I kind of want it.
Oh, you know what? Oh man, I have to show you guys. Those really nice detailed figures.
Yeah.
But like not a statue, like a figure, like a
Yeah,
posable action
yeah.
figure of the Peter Parker from Spider-Verse, where he's got the sweatpants and the slice.
that's sick.
You have one?
No, I want to buy
Oh,
it. Yeah.
that's awesome.
It's
How,
really
how
cool.
many hundreds of dollars is it?
Well, I didn't even look. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to look. I saved the page.
I don't want to destroy the fantasy yet.
I bookmarked it, and I was like, when I have enough money, I'll go back and I'll check. I'm like, hopefully it's not too much, because I don't have anywhere to put it either.
Yeah.
But that's cool though.
Yeah.
That's like the coolest toy you
That's
could
what.
own.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
want from.
Or a Noir. A Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have Spider-Man Noir figures, but probably not from Spider-Verse. Actually, no, they might have more Spider-Verse
Yeah.
ones. I'm pretty sure they do.
I want a little quote at the back where he says his lines from the film.
Nick Cage.
yeah.
I let
That's all
the
I want.
match burn down
Yeah.
to my fingers.
That's all I want.
Anyway, we were talking about Carnival Row.
we ended up talking about Amazon, and then we talked
Yeah.
about merch.
And then we end up talking about what we find on Amazon. Anyway,
Remember last week when I said if I talk about Star Wars like toy collecting, people really tune out? We're getting
Yeah,
dangerously
yeah.
close. Hey, does everyone want to hear about my 90s Power of the Force Star Wars action figure collection?
You really
Yes.
have that?
Yes.
Take a photo, put it on the webpage.
I will. So yeah, Carnival Row. One thing we were talking about the world building before we got so wildly sidetracked. I like the world building, but like I said about like the world, like the actual physical land, like I want to see more. I want
Yeah.
to know more. And again, season 2 will
hopefully flesh that
Hopefully
out.
flesh it
Hopefully we follow Agrius
Yeah.
and his lady on their adventures.
hopefully we see another place, and hopefully like we see more of that Puck religion.
Yep.
I also really like the Christianity stand-in religion they have.
The martyr.
Where instead of Jesus Christ, they have the martyr, and instead of the man on the cross, they have a hanged man. I really like that imagery. It's such a simple sort of fantasy
analog.
And I like how the monks, the brothers, they wear the noose around the neck as a sign of
Piety.
the martyr. Yeah, and I like how instead of the sign of the cross, they seem to do like a circle on the chest, which I guess is the sign of the noose.
Yeah.
I really like that. I like all that stuff. I'm like, I would like a show just about this weird
That's what I was saying before.
Christianity rip-off.
The world building is so well done
Yeah.
for a show that's not based on anything.
It's like in Game of Thrones, I love, you got the old religion and you got the new religion, you got the 7 gods, and then you got the tree religion, the
Children of
The children of the green.
Forest
yeah,
or whatever
but
it
what do
is,
you call it? The trees, the
the blood. I know what
I
you're
can't
talking about.
remember.
The,
Yeah,
the old
yeah.
god
It's like,
trees.
yeah, all that stuff's really cool. But yeah, that's all set on George R. R. Martin's like crazy in-depth world building. Whereas this show, it's like they're just making it up for the show,
And it
that's why-
works.
Yeah, and it's like it's not as deep as Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. Like it clearly doesn't go as far, and that's why I'm hoping to see more in season 2. Because if you don't see more in season 2, it might feel like they don't have anything. Does it?
Yeah,
Like they're
yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we came up with the structure, but other than that, it doesn't go deeper. That's another reason why I want to see more of the war and the pact. I'm like,
I mean, one of the benefits is they'd also be able to get on writing consultants to help them figure all that out. Like if they don't have anything planned,
yeah.
the Amazon can always say, "Well, here's a team to help you figure stuff out."
Well, I mean,
Which is why it's so strange that Game of Thrones got so bad.
Well,
You know what I
that was
mean?
because the showrunners thought they
but
were
like you have
smarter
teams of
than they
people
were.
available.
Yeah, I think every popular show has like a comic book that like a tie-in comic book that they release. Even ones you've never heard of. Like they're just like, and here's a comic book that came out. It might only run for a couple issues, but they usually just churn them out. And the Carnival Row, I think, even if it gets cancelled or like this.
I would love an expanded universe.
Yeah, an expanded Carnival Row universe would be really cool.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll be down for that. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I want to see.
I would
the
love a
war.
comic book series, like long running, even
Yeah.
if it's not about Philo or Vignette.
Yeah.
Just like some random character they make up for the comic book who's just placed in that world.
That's why. Yeah, exactly. Like just
like you don't have to go for Star Wars about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I would just maybe show more of the war. Like show a guy, another guy. more of the
definitely.
around the world. Show what happened in the past, maybe. You could go. That's
can we get a spin-off show of Agrius just chasing down people who have fled their
See,
bondage?
that's another reason why I like his character. Like he's like a
he was a badass.
he's like a what do you
bounty
call it?
hunter.
Like a slave who hunts other slaves.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's pretty dark. But then
Yeah.
he got rich off it. I'm like, that's even darker.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
living off, and it's like he doesn't seem to feel bad about it, but he also does.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of that's why I want to see more.
It's hard to, what's that saying? Like, I'd rather cry in a Ferrari. What's that saying?
Yeah.
I'm sure he's sad, but he'd probably rather cry in a big house.
Yeah, exactly. He has a light bulb.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a light bulb. He's like,
He gets to cry in the lampshade.
You think one of his lines should have been like, sometimes I feel really bad about what I did to my own people, but then I remember I got a light bulb, bitch.
yeah,
exactly.
It's the only light bulb in the city. So I have to make the battery myself.
He puts what do you call them? Those fizzy candy that you put in your mouth, the pop rocks.
Yeah.
He has to put pop rocks in it to make it work.
To be fair, you could also make a light bulb out of potato. So I don't know. What do we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can parallel.
Potato
yeah.
battery.
Yeah, potato.
Yeah.
Battery, so.
Can also film with them too.
Yeah. What did you guys ever watch Penny Dreadful?
No.
I watched like one episode.
I really, 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 really like that show.
My thing about Penny Dreadful is it got cancelled.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. The first 2 seasons, fantastic. Third season, the writers knew they were getting cancelled, and they rushed to wrap everything up. And
Was
it was
there a
really
movie
bad.
released or another show?
They're going to do another show next year, which I'm excited for. But it's like, it was really bad because they were like, we're getting cancelled. We don't have enough time to tie everything up, but we're just going to quickly like wrap it up. And it was really bad. First 2 seasons were great though. This show reminds me a bit of that because it's set in that sort of same kind of period of time. But this is obviously a more fantasy kind of version.
Penny Dreadful's like more horror, right?
Yeah, and that's set in, like, that's actually set in Victorian England.
Yeah.
But there just happens to be, like, Dracula's and Frankenstein monster and stuff. Whereas this is set in a sort of alternate universe.
Yeah.
I like how Imogen's like, this is the 7th century.
Yeah.
Like, it's
According to whom?
like in their world.
Yeah.
In their world, I guess it's the 700s. So that's it. And also I like how when Philo's mother dies and they like can see how old she is by the lines on her wings.
Oh,
And they're like, which is cool, but then they're like, oh, she's like 80 or 90 years old. So it's like fairies live longer than humans do while still appearing young.
Yeah, that was cool.
Which is, that's cool too.
Makes sense.
So would Philo be?
But yeah,
how would he?
He might age normally. He might age a bit. He might be like Aragon, who's like
Yeah. I mean, like
kind of
extended human lifespan. Yeah.
But that's again like it'll be interesting to see how they.
I liked the sort of the, I guess we'll say the backstory Turnanock. Like the first human to sort of visit the Fae.
Yeah,
like
that was
the
cool.
pigs specifically.
Yeah.
And that whole storyline, that was cool.
I like the library and vignettes like the guardian of the library. Like it doesn't really make a lot of sense how they recreated the library in the Burg and how they had that book because the Pact took over the library.
Yeah.
And she sealed the entrance. It's not important.
It's just a little plot
it doesn't
hole.
make a lot of sense. That's why I want to see like who the hell are the Pact? What are they doing? Why do they hate everyone so much?
That's for season 2, James.
Yeah.
If we're lucky.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully the Pact.
Well, we're getting season 2.
No, I'm talking about if we see more about the Pact.
Oh,
yeah. Hopefully we can get the Pact, Nazi commander, really evil, guy, SS guy dressed in black. And but yeah, like that's cool. Orlando Bloom's trying really, really hard in this show. Like his whole performance is just like squinting. He's like,
He was pretty good in it.
He's trying so hard.
I also didn't hate Cara
Delevingne. No, she's
as much
good.
as I thought I would.
No, she's
See, the problem is Valyrian kind of
but
cast such a hard light on her.
that's the thing. Like, I hated Valyrian. I thought that was, if Last Jedi didn't come out that same year, that probably would have been my most hated movie.
What a
of
bad
that
year for sci-fi.
Yeah, it was horrible. Like, I've never walked out of a movie. I came so close to walking out of Valyrian. But I actually liked her in that movie. I think she's good. And she's good in the show. But the characters aren't that like in terms of all the characters
Yeah.
that we've been talking about,
They're kind of flat.
they're the kind of lovey-dovey Twilight, love story, romance.
But you know, she did really well in this show.
Yeah, no, I like that.
So did Orlando Bloom. For the most part.
Well, he's all right.
Yeah.
I would have maybe preferred someone else, but
But he also executive produces the show. So how
Well,
much
if
of
you're
the show
the-
is on him?
if you're the star of
Yeah.
if you're a star of a big show, you're gonna be an executive producer. It doesn't matter what. So, but it's got Jared Harris. He's fucking amazing. All the other cast, all the cast is good. David Gyasi, who plays Agreus he's from Interstellar. He's really good.
Oh yeah.
Very
yeah,
good,
yeah.
Like, it's a good show. Good cast, good world.
Would
building.
recommend.
Yeah, good fancy.
Again,
I like
good.
we didn't talk about the magic, the memes.
The memes, yes.
Yeah, they're
memes?
like they're not the memes. the fairy source like
Priestesses.
witches. Yeah, fairy witches.
But that's another thing that I didn't
Which
quite.
is another layer of. I was like, when they introduced the meme, I was like, are the memers human witches or are they like a separate race? But it's like, no, they're fairies, but they're also like can practice magic.
Piety can also do magic, right?
Yeah, but she was taught by.
Yeah, now, is she human or is she a half-blood?
She's
She's human.
So humans, when taught,
Can
can
practice.
use
Yeah, so magic
fey
is
magic.
Yeah, so the fey magic doesn't come from the fact that you're a fey.
Okay,
it
yeah.
comes from the practicing,
Yeah.
I guess. But it's kind
which
of
is cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is really cool. But it's like I was a bit confused at first. I was like, what are the memers? Are they their own race? But
Mhm.
it's like, no, they're just like witches of
Yeah.
the fairies.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah, I
all
want
that
to see
stuff.
more magic.
Yeah, more blood magic.
Yes. Should we move on from Carnival Row?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything else.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, like there's other stuff I want to talk about, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. All right, let's move on to. Well, do you want to? What should we talk about first? Control or WoW?
Up to you, dude.
We can talk a little bit about Control.
Okay.
Because both James and myself have played, I would say, a fair bit of the new game Control by
Yeah.
Remedy.
Entertainment.
Entertainment
Or
Interactive?
it's interactive. Anyway, Remedy.
By Remedy.
Yeah. So
Um,
I think I've talked about this. I know I talked about the old show, but I'm pretty sure I talked about it on Tuesday review as well. Remedy, like Max Payne, is my favorite game of all time. Remedy, who made that, they also made Alan Wake, which is another fantastic
One
game.
of my favorite games of all time.
Amazing. So anything they do, I'm there day one. Doesn't matter. So Control, I was on board since before Control even existed. I was like, whatever they're making, I'm down. But the game came out, and Nathan and I have played a bit of it. It's really good.
It's really good, but now did you play it on your Xbox One X?
Yes.
You have the advantage
Yes.
because
Ray trace.
it has.
Everyone keeps talking about ray tracing. I'm like, I don't know what that means, but it looks
the Xbox
nice.
X, well, the Xbox One X doesn't have it. PC does.
Doesn't it?
No.
Okay, I thought the X could handle that.
No,
Oh,
because
okay,
it's about
never
the ray tracing is built into the graphic card.
Oh, okay.
So only newer cards have it.
Yeah.
So the Xbox One.
Oh,
X
you know
is a
what
little
I'm
too
thinking
old.
about? The new Xbox, the one they announced.
Oh, the next one, the
Yeah.
Scorpion, whatever
yeah,
it's called.
but
is
I
gonna
thought,
have it.
in my head, I was like, the X has it, but no, the Scorpion. No, is it Scarlet?
Scarlet.
Yeah, Scarlet, yeah.
What was Scorpion? It was
Scorpio. Before
Scorpio
X,
was the X, yeah.
before X came out, it was called
my
Project Scorpio. And
Why
now
can't
the
they just be
Scarlet.
normal?
Just
I
call
know.
them by numbers.
Anyway,
Xbox
moving
One.
on.
What
Yeah.
It's not one.
Xbox One X.
Call it Xbox 2.
yeah.
No,
Anyway,
I don't know.
one of my major problems with this game.
No, because it was 360.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. They
so it's
call it
Xbox
360, so-
3. So
They
you
should have just
can't-
gone with the conventional naming convention, Xbox 720.
720. Yeah, that's what. God,
Anyway.
it's so easy, Microsoft. Send us a check.
The major problem they have with this game is that it does not run well on PS4 hardware and base Xbox One hardware.
Look, even on Xbox One X, I haven't had any big problems, but I've had a few frame rate
Stutters,
drops
yeah.
and stutters. But it's such a huge,
Yeah.
good look, like really good looking game.
It looks amazing.
Like I couldn't imagine playing on PS4.
Look, here's a problem. I think as technology gets better and games look better, even the current generation is going to
Yeah.
struggle.
Yeah.
That's
So these games will run fine on PS5 or whatever
Yeah,
they
yeah.
expect, but like we're at the upper edge of the current generation.
Yeah, that's
now.
what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Like keeping in mind, this game really wasn't developed for PS4 base or Xbox One base in mind.
Yeah.
It was made to run passably well on the higher end versions of the consoles
Yeah.
and excel on PC.
Yeah.
That's what it was designed for.
Definitely.
At this stage in any console's life cycle,
Yeah.
games start to get a bit shit.
Yeah,
Like, they always look nice, but they run terribly.
They ramp up the graphics
Yeah.
and the physics, but it's like the hardware is
Hasn't
now at its
changed.
limit.
Yeah.
So,
So in every console generation, we're at that point now in this one where the games are developed for really the next generation in mind and not for us anymore.
Yeah.
At the base level.
Yeah.
So I can understand why it's struggling. It's not great. I unpause the game and it takes a couple of seconds for me to move around properly.
yeah,
And then when there's a lot of enemies and I walk into a room,
bit of slowdown.
bit of slowdown.
Yeah, I've heard a couple things, but nothing that's
Yeah.
game-breaking bugs. Nothing really.
Yeah,
I did when I first started the game. I did walk into a room and there were a couple of NPCs discussing something in a corner, and then there was another NPC in another corner that was stuck in the T-pose, and he was just stuck there. And like you could throw things at him, you could run into him, and he just wouldn't move. Like he was as if he was part of the part of the
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah.
Well, that was funny, but yeah. But honestly, the game looks fantastic and runs. I don't think it
The
runs
action
badly.
feels amazing.
Yeah. Once you get a hang of it and start getting a good rhythm,
Yeah.
it's
so
really
I mean,
good.
the story's pretty cool.
The story, like Remedy
it's
games,
Not. I mean, the story's not the main. We'll say the story's not necessarily the main focus. Like, it's not a narrative-heavy game as some other.
it's a lore-heavy game.
It's a lore-heavy
Which-
game. Lots of optional lore, which
Yeah.
I enjoy.
Which actually, that's what I wanted to say. Is like Remedy is really good about like the lore and the kind of the sort of underscoring of like dark humor and like things under the surface.
Yeah.
And that's what Control does so well. It's like, yeah, on the top, it's an action RPG.
It's not. Yeah, it's not
But then-
cutscene.
Yeah,
but there's
then-
a lot of story
yeah,
if you want to find
exactly. If you read all the notes, if you listen to all the recordings,
it. And
if you do all
the videos.
so good.
They're fucking amazing. There's live action videos which you
Yeah.
can collect and watch at your leisure.
instructional videos.
Instructional video, like funny. Most of
So-
them are humorous.
Yeah.
And they're amazing.
If like I mean I love it so much. I mean I love everything about it. It's amazing. But what I love the most is the whole like X-Files,
Yeah.
like SCP,
Yeah.
like that kind of like there are objects that have different effects, called altered items, and then there are objects of power which give the user different powers, and it's like just cool little things like, and that kind of lore and world
I'm gonna have to
building.
start playing this game.
It's
Oh,
so
you love
good.
it. It's so like Alan Wake.
It's-
like it gets Twin Peaksy.
It's
really cool.
It's very heavily inferred that the game takes place in the
Yeah.
same universe
Yeah. So
as Alan Wake.
I've found a couple Easter eggs, but even without Easter eggs, like it's set in
Yeah.
a world where those kind of events happen.
I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay.
And as much as I try, I
I
just
heard it's
can't-
really bad.
No, so
That's
here's
the new one, right?
Yeah. Now the problem is, I suppose, when you have a game that people have been wanting for like close to 15 years.
Yeah.
Anything they deliver is probably going to be criticized.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm like it's all Disney stuff. I like it. I appreciate
yeah.
it, but it doesn't click with me anymore.
I heard
And I have to use a walkthrough for every time I read it. I'm like looking at a walkthrough so I don't miss any items.
Yeah.
And, like, don't get me wrong, I don't have enough time to be constantly
I saw-
reading a walkthrough.
Yeah, I saw a couple of reviews where it's like it's not about the Disney stuff. It's about like just the game itself is kind of broken and slow and.
Well, the thing about Control is quite
No,
the
I'm talking
opposite.
about-
No,
yeah.
I'm talking in relation to the problems Callum has with
Kingdom
Hearts.
Hearts, yeah.
Control doesn't have any of those issues.
No.
It's like
look.
it's a multi-layered sort of the map. The map itself, you can go back and forth through different locations.
It's like a Metroid-like
Yeah.
game where
Yeah.
if you get to a point where you can't continue
So
and
if
you can backtrack later.
so
when
you can
upgrade
miss
your
something, you can
powers.
come
Yeah,
back.
if I
Yeah,
miss
like-
something in Kingdom Hearts, I've already missed a few items I physically can't get back to, and
Yeah.
that annoyed me.
Most,
that's
yeah,
annoying.
most of the
But I
Most
have-
games do that. It's
Yeah.
annoying.
I have no problem with the Disney characters,
Yeah.
but it's just like I feel like I don't have a connection to a lot of the
Did you play
Disney-
the first two games?
Yeah.
What? But, and you didn't like. You liked it then. Like, it's
Uh,
just. And you saying now?
I was a much younger man when Kingdom Hearts 1 came out.
So you're saying now you're not into it anymore.
I just feel like the levels were better designed in the original
yeah.
two games. But in terms of the properties they're capitalizing on for the new one,
Yeah.
I don't have the same connection to these Disney characters that I did with the original.
But isn't that the whole gimmick of Kingdom Hearts?
So the original had like Little Mermaid, like the cartoon version of Little Mermaid, not like the live action ones.
Yeah.
It had Hercules and stuff like that. Number
Yeah.
2 had Tron.
Yeah.
It had Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
But like the new ones like Frozen, stuff like that. It does have Toy Story.
Yeah.
But I played that at PAX and I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But my point is, some of the zones that they have,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't feel the connection.
Yeah.
But I do want to. That's why I stopped playing it, and I want to.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about trying to play Control.
Definitely play Control because there's like bits that you'll really like. Like there's
Oh man,
the Ocean View Hotel.
that is
my
that is-
favorite thing ever.
It's
It's so Twin Peaksy.
it's
weird.
100% Twin Peaks.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
I love the little puzzles you have to do in there.
And I love the David Lynch arty farty shit that happens occasionally.
Oh yeah.
Okay, Callum, this happens at the start of the game.
Yeah,
no
yeah,
spoilers.
go. It's all right.
You become the new director of this facility. After the current director is dead. Director
it's like
Trench.
the Federal Bureau of Control, and
Yeah.
they're like
they control
they're like-
supernatural shit.
They're like a supernatural
Yeah, okay.
FBI, like CIA, who like if there's a supernatural event, they'll send agents out to
Men in
control
Black.
it. Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, and so you become the new director, and you pick up the service weapon, which is like the weapon you use for most of the game, and it changes forms depending on what you want it to do, which is cool.
Yeah.
There's a throwaway line that also says the service weapon is highly considered to be Mjolnir in Nordic myth.
Yeah. So
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And basically, you get an item called the hotline, which the director can talk to you. The dead director can talk to you from the grave. And there's scenes in the game where you'll be walking along and you're not using the hotline, but his image will be
Yeah.
on the screen, overlaid sort of semi-transparently on the
like
screen.
you're still in control of the character playing the game.
But he's there ghostly on the screen
My
and
favorite-
talking,
yeah.
and it's like silhouetted and blue, and it's so cool.
My other favorite thing is the board, who are like the controlling members of the bureau.
Yep.
You never see them, but they send messages, quote unquote, down to you through the hotline, which is like a old red phone. But
Of course it is.
but you can't hear, they speak in like a muffled like
Yeah, so you have to use subtitles.
and there's like
yeah.
subtitles on, and the subtitles are really cryptic and weird. Like it's like
It's full
we
David
are-
Lynch
Yeah,
shit,
it's like
yeah.
we are the board /rulers.
I'm not even sure the board are human at this point.
No, I don't
I'm just
think
like,
they
are
are.
they just
They're
aliens?
from another.
or
They're like, I
yeah.
assume they're from another dimension.
Yeah.
Like, and there's like this weird interdimensional stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But on top of that, all the gameplay and the level design is all really cool.
The game's set in the oldest house, which is a facility or a building in New York City that is like the House of Leaves. It's much bigger
It's
on
an
the
endless.
inside.
It's like an endless. On the outside, it's just a normal concrete
Unassuming.
building.
Yeah.
But it has the ability that people just don't notice that it's there.
Yeah.
But if you go inside and the members of the bureau who work in there, like it's just an endless, unending.
And it shifts.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
shifts around. It's
So the
really
rooms
cool.
change and
Yeah.
everything, and it's so cool.
I have to say the house that's bigger on the inside than is on the outside is one of my favorite tropes. Love
It's
it
a
so
good.
much.
It's a good trope.
trope, yeah.
Like
It's not used enough.
I love SCP and I love creepypastas, and there was that show Channel Zero which I really liked, where they would like take creepypasta from the internet and like develop them. It was like an anthology. Each season was
Yeah.
a different
I think
like
I bought,
show.
There's a season that delves into that sort of thing
Are
about
you
the
talking
house
about
being
Channel
bigger
Zero?
on the inside.
Yeah, the second season.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
bought that on
I
Blu-ray.
Thought, I thought that
I haven't
was,
watched it yet.
Yeah, I thought that was the best season.
Oh, good.
But yeah, like I really liked that show, and then that got cancelled, of course. But we were talking the other night about X-Files, and we were kind of like, there needs to be another X-Files, not necessarily X-Files,
Yeah.
but just another show or
Sci-fi
movie,
procedural.
yeah, where it's like
Solving crime. Yeah.
solving supernatural events. But I was like, SCP is the prime candidate
yeah.
because it's kind of user generated. It's like internet, like it's very
Yeah.
it's very 21st century.
It's kind of like basically it's like an open sourcey type thing where
Yeah.
it's like I
So-
don't know who owns that content.
Yeah,
You know what I
and
mean? Like, is
that's-
it public domain?
That's what I want to say is like, I'm sure a streaming service or a TV network could figure out the legality of it. If they could do it with Channel Zero with the creepypasta, SCP might be a bit harder, but if they talk to whoever runs the website,
Yeah, it might not even be that expensive.
yeah, if you because I'm assuming if when you create an SCP, you technically own that SCP, but you're also putting it on the internet for the rest of the website
it's like a big group
to use.
collaboration project.
So regardless of the legality or the financial side of it, like I feel like it's doable, but like Control is a really cool kind of similar thing to that. But it would be cool if, they have like a TV show kind of like that, like a SCP TV show. But yeah, Control at the moment is doing a really good job of taking that idea and running with it. And, it's super weird and it's really cool. And it's really fun. And yeah, the gameplay elements and stuff. Like, I don't like RPGs, but this is like an action RPG where you can when you kill
an enemy, you get resources.
Yeah, and you can put those resources into like a skill tree, and you can tailor
your play style.
To your play style, and upgrade your weapons in the way you want, and that's the way I like to do things because I have
customization.
But yeah, it's really good. We unfortunately don't get to talk about video games that we play a lot because we just don't have a lot of time. But I'm hoping when we finish the game, we'll do like a full spoiler review or something, and talk about the lore and stuff because it's really cool. But yeah, like unfortunately, we don't always get to talk about games,
especially more cinematic games. Like as games get more advanced, there's more more interplay.
Yeah, Remedy's always been that sort of company where they'll tick all our boxes in terms of narrative. Design.
Like honestly, I don't care what else Remedy's doing, but whatever it is, I'll be there day one.
And, hopefully this links into Alan Wake. We can get an Alan Wake sequel. There's not American Nightmare.
There was going to be one and that got cancelled. And then, but I don't know. I think Microsoft owns the rights to Alan Wake. So I don't know what the situation there is.
You can still get it on PC.
I mean, they could do I guess a sort of spin-off of
Smell and Smake
of Control. That's kind of also a rip-off of
just Alan Wake with a moustache.
Yeah.
Alan asleep.
Well, yeah, it'll be Alan Sleep, Sleep.
Yeah.
Because Alan Wake is Wake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Send us a check.
No, it's a really good game.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to talk about more because last time we talked about games was months ago. Like actual games we played was months ago, and since then I've played a whole bunch of other games. Just haven't been able to talk about them. We talk about like game news, like Death Stranding footage or whatever, but we don't talk about games we play. That's why I wanted Callum to talk about WoW Classic because I feel like it's an interesting topic.
Well, so. It's been everyone knows about WoW Classic by now. It's everywhere. People have been talking about it.
Explain it for people. Some people don't. My dad, who listens to the show, so like, WoW.
In 2004, a company called Blizzard created a video game called World of Warcraft, which is based on their existing IP, the Warcraft strategy game franchise.
Yeah, it's like a fantasy role-playing game.
Yeah, and it's an online game which you play with other people. Typically there are thousands of people playing at any one time.
Yeah.
And essentially, this was one of the more popular online games in the world.
It's the most popular, right?
Not anymore, but it used to be.
It was huge.
In 2004.
Yeah,
the biggest.
Yeah.
2006, the biggest.
Yeah, it was huge.
So anyway, fast forward to a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Depending on who you talk to, Blizzard ruined the game or they made it better.
So the thing with WoW is they update it.
Yeah, so every couple of years there's a new expansion to the game, new areas to explore.
Technically it's the same game.
Yeah, it's always just World of Warcraft.
Yeah, but they upgrade, they add things in.
Yeah, exactly. So every 2 years there's a big update. You give Blizzard $70.
Yeah.
You can explore the new areas.
Yeah.
On top of your monthly subscription.
There's new
zones, new classes.
New weapons,
all that kind of stuff, yeah. So anyway, now for years... there have been a thing called private servers. Yeah. Which are illegal. Well, depending on the country you're in.
Like a grey area.
Well, no. So in most countries, they're considered illegal. It's so complicated. Yeah. So essentially, in Australia at least, when you buy the game, you own the game.
Okay, yeah.
Now, legally speaking, you don't have to use Blizzard servers. But before they were reverse engineered, there were no other servers going around.
Yeah.
The act of reverse engineering was illegal.
Yeah.
But running a server
Like
is
a private
technically
server.
a private server, as long as you're not using any of the copyrighted Blizzard server code.
Yeah.
Is technically speaking a grey area.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get arrested for
Yeah.
it, but you will probably get a cease and desist letter.
Yeah.
In some countries, it's legal, even to make money off it, as long as you pay tax.
Yeah.
Sweden, I believe, is one of them.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
But in most countries, you can't make money from it at all. It's a purely like a private endeavor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so an Australian server, I believe it was.
I think so, yeah.
Nostalrius, it was called. Got so popular that Blizzard got upset.
Yeah, but like, because what they were doing, they were like, we don't like how they keep adding all this junk into the game.
Yeah, so
They-
we're stripping it back to what's
Yeah.
called vanilla.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of different private servers. You've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
vanilla, which is just the original base game.
Yeah.
Then you've got Burning Crusade, which is the first expansion.
Yeah.
But pretty much every single expansion has
Yeah.
its own group of people who just like that one.
Yeah.
And that's the one they want to play.
Yeah, so if you don't want to play all the new up-to-date version
Yeah.
and like all the crap, it's like just strip it back to what you like about
Yeah,
it. And
exactly.
And people who are like-minded people can go to that one private run server.
Exactly.
That's not run by Blizzard.
Exactly.
Also keeping in mind, for a long time, Blizzard maintained that it was not possible for them
Yeah.
to do classics.
Yeah. So anyway, Nostalrius got so popular, had hundreds of thousands of players, literally.
Yeah.
It was basically more popular than retail World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And so Blizzard sent them like a cease and desist letter, but they also invited the guys behind it to Blizzard HQ to have
Yeah.
a chat. And apparently they wanted to bring them onto their team,
Yeah.
but because of like visas and things, it wasn't so probable because I believe one of them was French or something.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, there's a whole bunch of, you
Yeah.
know, behind the scenes drama. But essentially, for years, Blizzard maintained that A, it wasn't possible to do vanilla private servers, and B, no one wanted it. Famously, Mr. Brack from Blizzard said, you think you want it, but you don't.
Which is the most bullshit corporate arsehole thing to say. Where me, as someone who doesn't play WoW and is not really interested in it, I can see the appeal of just wanting to play the vanilla original version. And if you're not going to facilitate that, private servers should be allowed to provide that
exist.
service. So for him to be like, you don't really want that.
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
just
yeah.
the biggest douchebag.
You
Right.
think you want
Now,
it.
so I mean, I should
Yeah,
say
it's
that
like, fuck you guys.
it's not just new areas to explore. There have been major changes to the game
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
15 years now that it came.
graphical changes, yeah.
Even the systems, how the game even works.
Oh, okay.
It's very different.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, myself included, actually prefer the systems from the original.
Yeah.
Anyway, so essentially, what happened is last year they announced they were making World of Warcraft Classic, which is vanilla.
Blizzard's official.
Yeah, the official. No longer do you have to go to private server, because if you go log on to a private server,
Yeah.
they can see your IP address. They can demand money from you. Like they'll be like, you want to keep playing? Donate $10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also, most of the times when you play, let's just say you played on a private server for a year, chances are one day that server just disappears.
Yeah.
Someone takes all the money.
It's a sort of.
It's a risky endeavor.
Yeah, it's not a solid thing.
So now Blizzard released their own, and which came out like literally a week ago. And now they thought it was going to be successful.
Yeah.
It was apparently double their expectations. So let me put it this way.
Yeah.
Their stock price actually increased in value when they released Classic.
Like I just said, like as someone who's not really interested in, I knew this is what people. I would even want this. Like I want, the original. Like of course you'd want to go back to sort of a more simpler, sort of stripped back version.
We say simpler, but it's actually much more. The actual game is much more complicated than what it is now.
But it's like I said to you the other day. There's a reason people still play Call of Duty 4. Like you just strip out all the bullshit. You strip out all the fancy stuff they've added in, and you get back to what made the game great.
Yeah.
So I can see, and that's why it's so successful.
Now, the interesting thing is, of course, if you went onto the World of Warcraft forums, people hate it. They've hated it since day one. They never wanted it. And yet people won't stop playing Classic. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure these people do hate it. But what I wish people would understand is it's not for the people who hated it.
Yeah.
It's for the people who want it. You log on now,
Yeah.
people are happy. They're playing it. There's heaps of people running around. One thing I want to say about Classic, people help each other. You see someone running around who needs help in front of you, they'll help you, you help them. In the current retail, which is the most up-to-date version,
Everyone's out for their own.
and they barely talk to each other. There's
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of people running around. You don't talk to anyone.
Yeah.
Like 10 minutes in Classic, you've already partied with like 3 people doing the same thing.
Yeah, the community aspect has gotten lost.
Yeah, because originally when you played on in a vanilla, there might be 5,000 people to one server.
Yeah.
You didn't know everyone, but you knew everyone.
Yeah.
Like you partied with the same people because you played at the same times.
Yeah.
You partied with the same people. You saw them all the time. You knew who they were, and it's that similar thing. I was talking to our friend Jake.
Yeah.
He's like, I see the same people all the time. Haven't played with them in a few days, but we're in the same area.
Yeah.
They know each other. They help each other.
And the game world is a lot smaller.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
Like, that's what I mean. And it's a real community feeling, which I think people just don't get. They want the flashiness and the
But,
immediate. That's
like-
one of the things that Vanilla has is it's slow.
Yeah.
You want to do something worth doing, it's going to take you a while and it's going to be hard. You go into Vanilla, everything's immediate. You get it done.
Retail, everything's immediate.
Yeah, retail rather. Everything's done quickly. It's like lots of instant reward.
Yeah.
You don't get that in
Instant
Classic.
gratification, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like like you were just saying, and we were talking about this the other day, where it's like, even if you don't like the original, the vanilla version, or you don't interested in it, let people play it. Like,
Just
why
be
do you?
be
why
happy
do you
for
have to
'em.
hate it? Yeah, like I don't.
Go back to retail if you don't want to play.
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Nobody's forcing you to play it.
And I remember when it was announced, there was a guy on the forum saying, "Oh, I'm an investor. I'm so upset at this. This is going to be losing me money." And no, like legit, this person said that. Well, the stock price has gone up, buddy.
Yeah.
Like maybe it wasn't that bad a financial investment
No.
after all.
Did he say he was an investor in Blizzard?
Yes.
Or was he
did.
invested in a competitor?
No, but he was a stockholder.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point is, it's very successful. It's very fun too.
Yeah.
It feels different.
I can see the appeal, and some people.
Also, you just need a subscription. You don't have to pay $70 for it like you would for the next expansion when that comes out next year sometime.
Yeah.
Like you just have to pay your subscription fee,
Yeah.
and then that's it. You're good to go. And
Pretty cool.
they're also considering.
And also, it's like not just because you play one doesn't mean you can't play the other.
No, that's also exactly
Yeah.
true.
If
They
you're
both have
subscribed, you're
benefits.
subscribed to all the
whole service.
current
Yeah, that's
service.
right.
Yeah.
You choose which you want to play.
Yeah.
They're also open to, if this continues to be popular, they're also open to doing what's called a progression server, which is when we don't know what the time frame would be,
Yeah.
but after a certain period of time, vanilla would become Burning Crusade,
Okay.
which is
So they're gonna like revert it back to where it started,
so
and
it's
then
vanilla,
Yeah.
and then we'll just say a year after,
yeah.
they'll bring it up to the first expansion, Burning Crusade, which was
But
the
that's-
most popular one.
But that's what I'm saying is, are they going to revert it back and then slowly work their way back up again?
Yeah, so that's
That's
already
interesting.
So Lord of the Rings Online does that.
Okay.
EverQuest has been doing that for years.
Okay.
Like it's a staple in online games now. Blizzard are actually slow to come to it.
Okay.
And it's actually, so I was thinking what
But they
they'll
better leave some classic servers.
yeah. So
alone.
what I think they'll do is you'll be able to clone your character. So essentially, you'll have your character who's at vanilla,
Yeah.
and you'll say, "Well, I want to do the Burning Crusade server," and you can copy him over because
Yeah.
you can already do that for what's called the test realm.
Okay.
So if they release a new update, they want people to test. You don't have to start from level 1. You
Yeah.
just copy your dude over,
That's cool.
and you test whatever new features they want.
Yeah.
So it's possible, and it's also profitable. It makes Daybreak a lot of money. The company who's now behind EverQuest.
Oh, okay.
So there's a financial incentive there.
Yeah.
I think it'd also be good for the community because people like Burning Crusade
Well,
was World of
yeah.
Warcraft at its financial peak
Yeah.
because it was by far the most popular
And that's
expansion.
that's interesting as well. It's like bringing it back to its basics, and then like it's like if
Re-experiencing the adventure.
Yeah, if you've never played it before, this is the perfect time to start it.
Exactly.
And if you've played it before, you can re-experience where it started and how it grew to where it is now. Because if you jump in now, it's a very different thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, but if you jump in at the start and they slowly work their way back up, that's
now,
really interesting.
I'm assuming they'll also keep vanilla. So like your
Well, I hope-
character
yeah.
on vanilla won't suddenly just be forced
they'll
into
be
Burning
yeah,
Crusade.
they'll be silly if they got rid of
Yeah.
vanilla. Yeah.
So I think there's definitely room to grow from
Yeah.
this for them as a company.
Yeah.
Which to them is obviously the main point is you need money. You need to appease the board of investors,
Yeah.
lest their wrath,
Yeah.
etc.
For listeners, just an addendum. We call it vanilla because it was original.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
vanilla is the
Vanilla,
term
it's like the
for
base
the
game.
basic flavor, yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to, that's what it's literally came from flavors. It's like
Yeah.
the
It's
the
basic
vanilla
flavor, it's
version,
vanilla, yeah. 1.0.
Well-
Although classic is technically 1.3.
Because the game had no market, there's no improve, like there's no version, there's no populace of players that likes version 1.0. Everyone hated it.
it was
okay.
terrible. Yeah, yeah.
Everyone's
It's like 1.3 is where you
we
start.
agree that we agree that didn't exist. Should we talk quickly about the Cyberpunk footage?
Yeah.
Just,
It looks more like a realistic game now.
Yeah, like one thing I want to talk about quickly is how they've said that now they've changed it so all the cutscenes in the game take place in first person,
Which is good.
Which, on one hand, I understand because you're playing. It's an RPG. It's an open world RPG like Fallout or Skyrim. Like the whole thing takes place from your. The whole thing of the game is the player. You inhabit the player in the game, like the. The character in the game.
If there's an option,
so,
I'm going to play the entire game in first person.
Yeah, but like what I'm saying is when you play the game, you create the character the way you want to. It's like you're transported into the game, if that makes sense. And so that from
you create your avatar.
Yeah, so from that, and in that sense, it makes sense that the whole thing's in first person, like a lot of these games are, because it's like you're experiencing the whole thing from your point of view, like as if you were in that world. But on the other hand, I really liked those third-person cutscenes, which were very cinematic. And you're losing that. You're also losing... Now, the whole character customization becomes almost pointless because you can't really see it. At least not most of the time.
Yeah.
So that's disappointing, but I kind of understand what they're doing.
I think it'll work out better for the games.
Yeah.
Sort of
the feel of because it's an action RPG. Like you're in the shoes of the character the whole from start to finish. But before it was like when you had those cool cutscenes, that was more cinematic. So it was like more like stopping the game to tell the story, which a lot of games do, and that's cool. But they've changed it more, so it's like you're always in the character's shoes and you're always in the action.
Yeah,
even if the control's taken away from you at that point in time. But yeah, I was just a bit like, I'm a bit... Now the character customization doesn't mean as much. But yeah, the new footage looks good. Still, I mean, we're all going to love this game, so...
I really love the game.
Yeah, but you just see... You see more of it. You see more of the driving mechanics. There's motorbikes, cool. And you see more of the shooting mechanics.
I just hope there's fast travel. Eventually.
Yeah, there has to be. Like,
I know it's lazy, but...
No. At a certain point, it just becomes tedious. Even with a really detailed, beautiful, interactive world, at a certain point, it's like, if you got to get to a place, you got to get to a place.
Speaking of World of Warcraft...
Well, we talked about with Death Stranding, how I was like, that's the one game where if it didn't have fast travel, I wouldn't be mad.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cyberpunk, I mean, like I said, it's going to be great, but I'm just a little bit worried that it won't live up to... Because it's a game there's hype and then there's Cyberpunk. Like, it's a next level of...
No game lives up to its hype. Sorry. Yeah. No game lives up to its hype, really.
Yeah.
But this game has a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, CD Projekt is the best studio to take on the IP.
Yeah, true.
They are probably one of the best studios... their output is unparalleled.
I would say they're the best, not because
just because of their fan interaction
and also just
the quality of their product.
Yeah. The Witcher 1, for example, looks dated now, but the systems, the story, it still holds up.
Yeah.
Witcher 2, better. Witcher 3, of course, is their masterpiece.
The pinnacle.
Yeah.
Like
I heard they said they were maybe going to do another Witcher game.
Well, they've come out and said they are a 2 franchise studio now.
Oh, okay.
So they're not finished with the Witcher universe.
Cool. Yeah. But yeah, like I was saying with Control before, how I don't really like RPGs. Like, I don't play Skyrim, I don't play WoW. They feel too grindy. But I like games like Control, which is like action RPG, where it's like you get points and you put them into your skill tree and you can choose what you upgrade. You can choose what your character's good at. And that's what Cyberpunk's all about. There's no class system.
Yeah.
It's just like you'll get points to upgrade, and it's like you can choose if you want to be you can choose if you want to be like soldier, if you want to be good at shooting and lots of health points, or you can choose if you want to be stealthy and like good at net running.
And do we know what net running looks like in the context of the game?
Yeah, did you watch the gameplay
footage?
It's like you sort of jack in and then there's like a sort of cyber world, like holographic kind of blue thing. They don't show up much. And then there's your like base Watchdog style hacking where it's like there's a surveillance camera, look at it, hold down, and then hacks. And
I like the fact there's like a company or a group that sort of tries to control
Oh,
the
yeah.
net.
Is it
Because
the-
there's like a rogue AI
Is it Netwatch?
netwatch or
I
something
think
like that.
I think that's what it's
And
called.
there's a giant sort of firewall in this game world, and there's a giant AI trying to break in.
Nice.
That like basically it's just like, well, the AI will destroy everything, and we have to make sure that like it
Doesn't
stays
get
out
through.
of civilization.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you can choose whether to side with the sort of the net watch,
Yeah.
or
It's very
also,
Deus Ex, isn't it?
yeah, or you can side with like the animals or whatever they're called,
the gang,
the
yeah.
gang, and you can try to take advantage of that AI's
Yeah.
power.
We talked about a while ago where it's like there are games where the choices you make throughout the game don't really amount to anything.
I
Or
feel like
it
this is
might-
going to matter a
Yeah,
shitload.
it's like it might amount to a different cutscene at the end.
Yeah.
The way they were saying in this new gameplay footage, it seems like every little choice you make will completely change the world around.
Talk about replayability.
Yeah. So I'm assuming, like, because they were saying things like, because at the start you can choose your background of like where your character came from, and then that'll unlock different
Dialogue choices.
but then that'll also unlock like different quests that you might be able to
That's
go on.
interesting.
And then if you decide to side with one gang and not another gang, or if you decide to side with a corporation, it's like that'll then change how people react to you. So I'm assuming that
So you can
the
get
whole,
a few very different experiences out of
so
the
there
one
must
game.
be like heaps and heaps of dialogue options and heaps of different variations of missions, and it's
exciting.
I mean, it's great. Like it's going to be great, but yeah,
I'm going to try, and I'm going to try and play it on PC. Because my PlayStation will just go chug,
Oh,
chug,
yeah.
and now I smell smoke.
yeah, that's just not
Like,
even.
it's not gonna
That's
happen.
why that's why I got the control for Xbox One X, because I'm like, well, that's the peak of consoles at the moment, so at least that'll be able to run it. But Death Stranding's only on PS4, and I only have the base PS4, so I'm like, I'm going to be struggling there.
Yeah.
You might not.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Depends how, like, honestly, it depends how sort of
How optimized it is.
yeah,
how
that's another
optimized
thing.
it is. But the other thing about Death Stranding is, if it's a lot of empty spaces, base PS4 will probably be fine. Like,
Yeah.
it's only if there's a lot of stuff
when
going
there's
on.
a lot of stuff
yeah.
on screen, a lot of
So
elements. moving
Death Stranding
around.
might hold up better than Control,
yeah,
depending on certain situations.
yeah.
Like,
We haven't seen a lot of things in Death Stranding of like small
Yeah.
enclosed.
We've
spaces
seen
with a lot of
cutscenes and
enemies.
stuff like that.
We need a good
Yeah.
old-fashioned demo.
Yeah,
Just
they
demos
don't, they
all
don't
around.
do demos anymore. Remember when you used to like buy,
A game and it came with a demo.
yeah, or you used to buy like cereal and would come with a CD
Yeah.
of demos.
Age of Empires.
Oh man,
Yeah, that came with the whole game.
I think I've still got my Age of Empires disc somewhere. I think I got a Need for Speed game once
They
on
don't-
Serial or
They
something.
don't do that anymore.
No, they should do that. Like we were just talking before about they don't do toys and stuff
Yeah,
anymore.
just
They
video
do mobile
games,
games.
yeah.
They should do that. They
Imagine
should
getting
be like,
Death Stranding in cornflakes.
oh man, I'd buy all the cornflakes. that would be so cool. That's a very Kojima thing.
Yeah.
Like you can only play the game if
it'd
you
be-
find the code in a box of cereal.
It'd also be a brand that's in the game that he made specifically for it.
Yeah.
But it'd be a real cereal.
That would be cool. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, when Death Stranding comes out, my life will be dedicated to that, and this show will become the Death Stranding show.
Yeah.
And then when Cyberpunk comes out, my life will be
Yeah.
dedicated to
Similar,
that, and the
yeah.
show will become that. And when the Lord of the Rings show comes out, nothing else will matter, and this show will be.
Well, it's pretty much a Lord of the Rings show anyway.
We might have to actually end this show and just do a Lord of the Rings podcast. Like each week, talk about each episode. Oh no, but it's going to be a binge if they're going to dump it, right?
I'm not sure.
Oh,
Oh,
possibilities.
I
Oh man. But anyway,
think we're pretty much all out of time for tonight.
yeah. Whose turn is
I
it?
think it's mine.
Yeah, it is.
Alrighty. Thank you for listening. Please like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter at Tuesday Review AU. Follow James on Instagram at Channel Drifter, where he talks about all the movies that we don't get to talk about on the show. You can find all of our previous episodes on your favorite podcasting app. If you like video games, check out Alan and Jake's show Sunrise Arcade, where I might be guest host, I might not.
You made it onto the official radio ad, so you're
Oh.
like you're like one of the boys now. You're one of the video game boys.
You can
Sunrise Boys.
Sunrise Boys. You can also check out Matty J's show Car Talk. That's TORQUE for all your automotive discussion. Please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the Tuesday Review on iTunes. Adios, cousins.